Welcome back to The New Health, and we have Adam Lane Smith back with us today. Adam, last week, and the attachment specialist, last week we were discussing the levels of trust, and we talked about levels 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I believe there are 2 more
There are.
levels.
Yep, absolutely. So as the audience might remember from last week, we talked about levels 1, being consistent and self-policing with your explicit code of conduct. Level 2, being explicit and self-policing with your long-term goals. This makes you predictable. This is the combination that makes other people feel calm and safe in your presence because they know what you're going to do during a conflict, during stress. They can judge it. So their nervous system comes down when they're in your presence. This is a good thing. It's important. It opens up the door for level 3, which is called mutual acceptance. I also call it mutual baggage. So it is when somebody sits down and says, okay, we're getting closer. Here's what you should know about me where I kind of fall short. Here's what I'm doing to work on it. If this happens, this is what should happen. I will take care of it. Just let me know, please. That's your role in that relationship. Just let me know if I'm doing something inappropriate. Give me a heads up. And then what should I know about you? What do I need to know about you, and how would you like me to give you a heads up? It's taking ownership of your problems together and agreeing that you are now going to speak directly to each other if there's a problem. This prevents either side from having to constantly guess and worry. Maybe the audience is used to having to guess, are people mad at me? What's going to happen next? If that's the case, you don't have to do that at level 3. This is mutual ownership. And then you see them do this repeatedly. That's level 3. Any questions on that?
No.
Good, because it's fairly simple.
Yeah, so
level
far.
4 then, that unlocks the door for level 4 because they know how you're going to act under stress. They agree with your mission, they agree with your values, and they know that you're going to self-police and self-correct back. So out there, stop for a moment. Would that help you feel comfortable in somebody's presence? Yes, that's the basics of trust. That opens up the door for level 4, which is mutual fulfillment. Hey, you know what, Jessica, you mean so much to me. I want to be the best friend to you that I possibly can. How can I take care of you? What are 2 or 3 things you need me to make sure I do in our relationship or not do? And here's 2 or 3 things I need you to do as well. Can we take care of each other this way? This is how you build a long-term, fulfilling, safe, bonded relationship with the right biochemistry. And when you don't do this, when you have insecure attachment, you don't do these 4 levels of trust, you jump over all 4 of them, land in the deep feelings, and then what happens? Well, we have a difficulty, we have stress, we have problems, and then you spike out of control because you have no idea how that person's going to react, and then you both scramble to try to get around each other, manage each other. This is what's leading to so much brokenness in our relationships.
So I know we spoke earlier about my views on avoidant and anxious attachment. So in that time of conflict, that jumping into that space, when it comes to my view is if somebody is having an avoidant, when they're in that space of conflict, they hightail it the other direction.
Usually.
And for anxious, they tend to attack a little bit more.
That's a great way to put it. So the avoidant person, they're not afraid. They would never ever say, I am afraid. They are cautious and they are concerned about how the other person will react, so they pull back. They solve the problem completely alone, and then when things are calmed down, they step back into the relationship. That's how they tend to operate. They don't trust anybody to solve problems with them. So then they block the reception of that vasopressin bonding hormone that reacts when we solve problems together, that men have more receptors for than women do. This is how men bond properly. So it blocks that production. And the anxious person perceives this as abandonment. So they rush in to try to make the other person approve of them, and they're desperately trying to get soothing for their nervous system that they only believe other people can do for them. This is overwhelming for the avoidant person. It feels like a betrayal and an attack, yes. And the anxious person feels completely abandoned and betrayed in that way. So it just doesn't work out. Anybody out there who's had a partner who either attacks you emotionally almost, overwhelms you is the right word, engulfs you for that approval and for that soothing, coercive soothing, that's more of an anxious trait, or anybody who has walked away from you during a time of stress and made you feel like they were untrustworthy, another person abandoned you, I should have known people would do this, that's more the avoidance style. Those are the 2 that we're dealing with.
Okay, and just a reminder that there's nothing wrong with attachment styles. There's nothing wrong with being avoidant, nothing wrong with being anxious.
Now this is a great place right here to talk about this.
Okay.
So there's something that I teach called the lone ape problem. If you took an ape, a chimpanzee, and you just dropped them straight into a hostile environment, dark jungle surrounded by predators, and they're alone, completely alone. their nervous system is going to completely change. Cortisol will go absolutely through the roof, so they are always on, always aware, always tracking threats, which is what avoidantly attached people do, is always track threats all the time. They are always risk-focused. So the lone ape is going to climb a tree, stay there, huddle there, be safe, be strong, and be aware, and not trust anyone or anything. Sleep is going to go down. As oxytocin just plummets, your oxytocin receptors get blocked. That means your GABA, G-A-B-A, gamma-aminobutyric acid, just plunges. That regulates your nervous system, and that's gone.
And that's a feel-good neurotransmitter.
That's just a calm your nervous system transmitter. Okay. It keeps your nervous system at a place where you can sleep. It allows melatonin release at night. Okay. It uses magnesium to soothe your muscles and let them uncoil and relax. If you don't have GABA adequately, you can never relax, ever. And this is why avoidant people don't relax, that lone ape problem. If you're alone in a tree, it's a survival adaptation. This is great for you. It keeps you alive. This is what avoidant people think they are, as a lone chimpanzee in a tree with a stick trying to fight off predators and survive one more day. And this is how they live every single day of their life. This is why they don't bond properly. Now, if you take that chimp and you put them properly into a group of other chimps and help them immerse and they really properly bond, then they get a flood, their cortisol comes down, they get a flood of oxytocin, a flood of GABA, a flood of serotonin. They feel content, they feel loved, they feel safe, they feel soothed, they calm down, and then your logical brain fully re-engages. And they actually become more logical, which is great, but then their survival rate goes up because now they're built into a trusted collective. That's what's supposed to happen. If you drop them into a nest of crazy chimps, that wouldn't happen, but a good nest of proper, secure chimps, their ability to thrive goes through the roof. And that's what we do when we fix attachment issues, is put you into a proper nest of chimps, good chimps, those 4 levels of trust, where you can have that with 2 or 3 chimps there, and your nervous system calms, you can sleep at night, you can rest, you feel safe, and then your thriving goes up, your opportunities go up, your success rate goes up, and you can sustain it long term.
That sounds wonderful.
It is.
When we take someone who's in that, let's say we were talking before about, C-suite people who are adapted to this, very highly capable, how do we help them move into this space? Move from one space of, these are my neurotransmitters, I'm used to having my high cortisol, I'm used to having my vasopressin for solving problems, and how do we adjust them into that? What is a step? I know you had spoken about connections, relationships.
Yeah. Step 1 for avoidantly attached people, who will not identify as avoidantly attached, but high-level, successful, performing people, is to even help them understand there's an alternate way to live. Because they don't see this as a problem. They see this as the reality of such a civilization. I am this way to survive. If I stop, I will die. So they hear me talk, and they take 6 months to think about it to see if they might die or might not die. And that's totally fine. The first step, consider that there might be an alternative way to live. And every other step will come after that, but that's 50% of the work.
Okay, and then when they do that?
When they do that, work through the 4 levels of trust in your life, and give everybody in your life a score, now from 0 to 4, okay? And watch the episodes that we talked about last week. You'll get all those pieces, 0 to 4, but give everybody a score, and then look at it and put a star next to anybody that could go up 1 point, but you have never tested it properly. That will be eye-opening.
And when they say, I don't know how to test them properly.
Aha, that's something you and I should talk about in the future, because that's a whole structure for how to open up and test properly.
Okay, no, that's wonderful. So having people, we can convince people that they can be in that space to work towards secure attachment. And then what happens with their neurochemistry when they do? What is the...
When you build secure attachment, the massive level C-suite people, all the people that come to me for coaching, the business owners, they are always terrified that I'm going to lose my edge. And that's not the goal. The goal is, if you are constantly in war mode, survival mode, and you can never come out of it. You come home, you're in bloody armor with your spear, you kiss your wife and your kids, and you eat dinner just still armored up and bloody. You try to go to sleep at night laying in bed, but you can't sleep, you're just laying there in your armor. You get up the next morning, you go to work again. That's never having a peace mode. The goal here is to give you an alternate peace mode you can click into at will. When you are soothed, when your nervous system calms down, when you are able to just fully relax and the thoughts stop and the risk assessment pauses because you know you've covered everything. It's good enough, and you can finally be at peace. You can share a moment with your family. You can laugh, you can unwind. A lot of them use alcohol to try to achieve this effect. It is all the positive elements of alcohol with none of the drawbacks. you are soothed, you are calm, and you are able to relax that evening. And you can choose to do that.
That's amazing. So, and if not, and that cortisol ends up staying high, as you said, that in that war zone, what's the ultimate outcome if they don't choose to make these changes?
This is when you see people have massive midlife crises and they hate their life and they destroy everything they've built and everybody is alienated. And I have people come in their late 70s who say, Adam, I think it's too late for me. I've driven away everybody who ever could have loved me. Only now do I see that there were opportunities lost. I wish I could give all the money I have to try to get back any of the people that I've pushed away. And that is the absolute alternative. I don't mean to be doom and gloom. It can be a little better than that, but that absolute regret, that loneliness, crushing loneliness, that is ultimately the outcome if somebody doesn't fix this.
And is there an age limit
No.
on when people can?
Absolutely not. My oldest client was 78 years old and terminally ill with a few months to live. And they did have some children and some grandchildren, and they had almost no connection to them whatsoever. Not only did they come in and fix their attachment, they then went and taught their kids and grandkids better attachment and built a loving, thriving family system before they lost their life due to medical issues. So it is never, ever, ever, ever too late to do this work.
Thank you so much, Adam. It's such a pleasure having you here again with us. I know you're coming back next week to speak with us a little bit more about attachment. Please let our audience know how they can reach you.
Yeah, so I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. You can find me on adamlanesmith.com. I'm also on every social media platform. Just search Adam Lane Smith. You can find my courses, my coaching, all of my materials available to help you. And if you're going to circle for 6 months, that is totally okay. I'll be ready to help you when you find the time.
Well, thank you so much, and stay tuned for our next guest.